Good morning, Sam.
Good evening, Mallory.
Welcome back to Nobody Leaves, a podcast where I do a series of increasingly stupid stunts to get 13 views on the internet, and Sam says, "Are you sure? Okay," and just kind of lets me do whatever.
For the
Uh,
viewers at home, the most insane thing I pitched last week was, why don't you watch a vlog series? But Mallory said, what if I lived the vlog series? What if I lived the YouTuber experience? And so we took the show on the road this week, or at least one half of it. Mallory, where are
yeah,
you reporting from live?
I am here at Satamisaki, Cape Sata, the southernmost point in Japan. Today I drove about 8 hours total, I think. I had stuff going on, so I didn't get the early start that I would like. And I was really hoping to get a thumbnail where I'm in the exact same spot that Michael and Ludwig started their video. And you should be seeing that on the screen now.
I
And
mean, it
also
looks
probably in the
beautiful. I
thumbnail.
mean, it's very distinctive area.
And then also behind the scenes, we had a couple technical difficulties. This is the one, it's working now. I can see it recording on the voice memo, but I think I was having fun, and then we had to redo the intro a couple times, and I got really dejected. And that's
You know
kind of
what?
what
You
I'm
were
sitting
like,
in right now.
I've had a great time driving for 3 hours to get out here,
Now it's really hitting me.
and now you're sad.
Oh, okay. I'm getting my sunglasses to hide because I'm
Okay.
realizing that probably this kind of stuff happens to real YouTubers all the time.
Uh
And
huh.
you
Yeah, but they
know,
don't leave it in.
I
We leave it in, raw and
well,
uncut. The Nobody Leaves podcast feed.
that's got to be part of it is whether you leave it in or not. But I also feel like they don't show it getting to them as much. They're supposed to So I'm getting my sunglasses. I'm wearing sunglasses at night, and I'm wearing a poncho to shield me from the wind because it's hot and windy. Uh,
Well,
yeah,
Mallory, I
man.
think what's impressive about this is that you started at the northernmost tip of Japan and have traveled all the way down.
Well, Sam, it would be lovely if I could say that, but no, I did not do any. I didn't do an
No,
amazing feat. I just did a
you did a feat of some kind.
I've definitely, yeah.
Feats
I
have
had to.
occurred.
There's been a lot of. It's been a long day, man.
Well, Mallory, what do you think of the southernmost tip of Japan?
It is beautiful what I did see before it got fucking pitch black. um, it's nice. I do like looking out into the ocean when it's nighttime because it's kind of like Mother Void. It's kind of scary. So I
Sure.
mean that much is cool. For me at least. But
I have lost you to
yeah,
the
there's a
void of
cool island.
technology, of light,
Yeah, I
of
think the other thing we were
time.
talking about is it's so fucking isolated and truly I'm just around the corner of this big mountain and another mountain and another mountain and they're just overgrown. There are no human paths up these mountains and I'm yeah, a bear could just climb on down and have me for dinner at this point.
So, Sam, why did your podcast host go out into the wilderness and die for the for the views? It's like, well, I don't know.
Here's the thing. Our podcast is called Nobody Leaves, and I think I've found the way out. Is if I get eaten by a bear, I think I'm allowed to leave the podcast.
You won't have to react to a 14
Yeah,
episode vlog series.
yeah, yeah, man.
Well,
I
Mallory, let's
think
talk about how we can salvage this, right? Because you have a backup
yes,
plan that I think is very interesting. So
yeah, I
we're talking about tip to tip. Ludwig, Michael Reeves trying to get from the southern part of Japan to the northern part. That a lot of maps were
yeah,
drawn, a lot of decisions were made. At some point, to make their first directional decision, they threw a stick up in the air and went towards the pointy end of the stick.
mm,
You have told me that you're going to attempt to find this stick, which I think is also going to be so easy in the dark.
Viewer, stay tuned
Stay
because
tuned.
we'll be doing live on podcast. I'm bringing Sam with me, and we're gonna look for this fucking stick. Because if I find this stick, that's something. If I don't find this stick, Sam, I don't know what
What was it all
this
for, you
is.
know?
I don't know what it was all for. I feel like we need to start talking about tip to tip so I don't lose it because
Okay.
because we'll keep interspersing my situation, but like I feel like I need to talk about is it how stupid and pointless my whole. I
Well,
got one
Mallory,
thing I'll show off. I'll show this to the camera, and you're not gonna be able to see
okay.
it because I'm fully like ghost. Like my face is just bright white for the situation, but I am wearing my Japan Club T-shirt from my like university that I went to, and we always said like, oh, it'd be cool if we like went to Japan, we like rep these shirts or whatever. So I am wearing it.
Yeah, but you've also lived in
Represents.
Japan for 6 years.
Yeah, I guess, but I don't know. It kind of felt like okay, cool. I feel myself getting happier talking about like different topics. So I kind of felt like today was like coming full circle a little bit because like I feel like this experience shows like how bad of a J vlogger I would be and how I'm not cut out for it. And it's also like part of it is like living in Japan for wrestling. Like I, it's just kind of like, oh yeah, cool to me, you know. And it's like wearing this shirt. Like I feel like it's bringing back the youthful exuberance of me and like university and like studying and like I could count the amount of Japanese friends I had on one hand, and like
Right.
I was
Are you
still
telling me you're
like,
no longer wowed by convenies?
yeah, I like convenience. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like losing my mind over Armored Ice, which honestly is a good segue to my feelings on Tip to Tip. So nobody leaves is a
Yes.
podcast where I talk about what Sam likes and Sam talks about what I like. And Sam said, you got to watch Tip to Tip this week, which I
I
did.
did. I want to hear your
And
opinion as someone who's done more than just like stop on by in Japan, but actually lived in the country for now many years. Uh,
yeah,
I kind of wanted to use this broadly to talk about J vlogging in general, but let's talk a little bit about specifics here. Like, what did Ludwig and
yes.
Michael Reeves commit any international war crimes, or how do you feel about the whole series?
Yeah, also the way you described me is like you've lived in Japan for many years. I really felt like that wash it like I want viewers to zoom into my face and see if you can see it wash over me of like, oh god, like professional Japanese knower. But
I mean,
uh
you are, but yes.
it's it's accurate, but it feels so cringe to like brag about in any way or like state. I'm just like, oh god, nightmare. Um so uh Tip to Tip, starring Ludwig and Michael Reeves. I watched the whole series. I have watched like decent amounts of them before. Like I've watched like most of. I feel like all the popular Michael Reeves videos before the
Mm-hmm.
insane things that he thinks of. Those videos are really cool, and I've watched like I had like an Among Us phase of like watching YouTubers play Among Us was like a pretty good way to decompress after the workday. So like I'm aware of both like personalities. I feel like, but I would say I'm
Right.
not like super fans of either of them. So it was definitely. I don't know if I've ever watched like a series by them before, so that was interesting. But I feel like it was cool, and yeah, like the thing you were saying about like did they break any international laws? Like I don't know if I read enough comments to get like a full like perspective on like how the series is being perceived, but a lot of the ones I did
Mm-hmm.
read or like reactions I saw were just kind of talking about like, oh, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. If you can't tell by my like sarcastic seeming tone of voice, I think that people gotta chill out. about Japan a little bit.
I think they did a good job.
I
I
think they
that
did. I think they
From an
were
outsider's
respectful.
perspective,
Yeah, I liked the
yeah.
videos. Yeah, like that's my broad takeaway. Um, I thought they were cool. I thought they were like respectful of the people they talked to. Um, like barring one thing, like the only thing for me is like the filming, but we can talk about that because it's
Well,
kind of
that's the
like
weird part about like
hypotheticals.
IRL content
Yeah,
in general, right? It's like
filming
I was thinking
strangers.
of like
Yeah.
the spectrum, right? Like if one end of the spectrum is I am gonna like illegally board a train and end up in like jail because I'm an idiot and I came over and wanted to like film some stuff and I'm a weird Twitch streamer who gets banned or a Kick streamer even.
Hmm.
And then the other end of the spectrum is like I'm gonna not film any content and this is just not gonna be a thing.
Mm,
Like they're definitely closer to like the more respectable end
right.
than like committing actual crimes or like throwing pokeballs at people, Logan Paul
Yeah.
style.
Listen, so like
Um,
there's the elephant in the room is like Logan Paul, right? Like that's the like
right.
Pokeballs, like the suicide forest, like looking for dead people for like meme content or whatever. Like that's like the
Mm-hmm.
obviously like worst nightmare version of it that you could do. But like I feel like yeah, I don't know. Like I think my only thing about them filming, I as always we're doing the criticism before I talk about all the good things that they did, but like my only thing about
Right.
the like filming people was like I feel like they didn't show them like saying like, "Do you mind being on YouTube? Are you okay with being filmed?" It's possible that they were saying that to them to each person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like and they just cut it. Like I could see that happening. And there is also the reality that like the people being filmed can see the cameras that they are being filmed with. You know what I mean? Um,
I've got to imagine it's a mix of both, and it's
right.
especially like, but they went to good like efforts in terms of the editing and their editors
Mm,
who were
yeah.
following them in an RV of like blurring out any personalized information and like they'd keep the camera on them in situations like a restaurant where someone probably doesn't want to be like
Yeah.
randomly like caught in a shot. Uh,
Well, so I'll say,
I thought it's an interesting
yeah.
thing to navigate, but I think that they did it pretty respectfully.
I'll say for what it's like, there are a couple of things I didn't feel like they blurred name tags of certain people. And then
Mm-hmm.
I also noted there's one specific restaurant shot where it's I think they're in Nagoya and they're eating unagi. I forget where they are. They're
Mm-hmm.
at this like eel restaurant and um they they have this shot with the two of them talking or whatever and there's just this dude like directly in the center sitting at like a couple tables away like eating and he's in the shot the whole time and
Right.
not blurred and I'm like there's no way they like talked to that dude or anything so I'm like I didn't notice a lot of like blurring but I mean I do think like as a general rule when they were walking around and talking they would like film themselves talking to people as opposed to like the person and it seemed like it wasn't until they like started interacting more and having a deeper interaction that they would like point a camera at someone so yeah like to say that broadly respectful could have been like it's not like 100% perfect but like I mean I guess when the standard is so
Well, I
low.
think what we're experiencing pretty easily is like it's difficult to bring perfection to a IRL
Yeah,
production.
when you factor in
But
real travel
you
time.
chose to like record at night so that there'd be no information available.
Yeah. So that this could be a set. I'm waiting for like someone to make like green screen conspiracy theories that like it's like yeah, the whole background that I am right now is just a green screen set. It's not real. Um
You're in my driveway in North Carolina for like all people know.
exactly. Yeah, but no, everyone was good. Yeah, like to speak of like the positives, like I think that they were very respectful. Like I think that they did made like really good solid efforts with like Japanese, like confidence, social awareness, and like stretching and reaching, just kind of like throwing words out there sometimes, like whether it's right or wrong. Like I feel like
Mm-hmm.
they nailed that part and they did a really good job of like communicating and making their way like across the country. Um but yeah, and yeah, it was a good video. I thought it was a cool idea. That to me is like the fun of traveling is like adventure, like because.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the biggest black pill of all that you guys are gonna, I'm gonna say, and everyone's gonna be like, she's wrong, she's lying. But this is the truth. It's like pretty much anywhere you go, it's like the same. Like we breathe the same air, we live under the same sun, we drink the same water, and it's like,
You have hit me with the Japan is normal take before of like
yeah,
it. There's no reason for people to be so obsessed with it. It's just like a place where people work in like
yeah.
office buildings.
It's like not to like the extent of like obviously there are cool unique things about places and like obviously I'm like literally here at like a sightseeing place like this you're here to see beautiful
Mm-hmm.
nature and stuff but like broadly like you know like so much of the world is mundane places I guess if that makes sense like
Right.
it's not the like amazing sights or whatever and like I liked seeing them go through a bunch of mundane places because like that to me is like you're experiencing the country like you're seeing Japan like that was kind of my feeling I guess while I'm watching it. I feel like do I sound cringe or
Yeah, I thought that was an
pretentious?
interesting aspect of the show.
Do I sound pretentious or cringe? I don't know, that's just like how I think about it.
I mean, don't we always? That's kind of our podcast, right?
I've never felt more well I mean this is maybe just like getting to my uncomfortableness with making like Japan content while I live in Japan, you know, of
Right.
it, I feel like it's cringe. I know the real. You don't know anything about you know what I mean? But like, but it is like,
Yeah, but also
yeah,
you've lived there for 6 years and worked there for 6 years. Like, I
yeah,
think that there's a little bit of and grant you a little bit of charity on that.
yeah. That's fair. I'm just waiting for the commenters. Like, I've actually been here for 11 years, and everything you're saying is incorrect. You wouldn't understand. It's like, but I'm like, I would be pretty surprised if much changes between 6 and 11 because not much has changed between like 2 and 6. I would say.
I understand.
Uh, but yeah, we're getting off topic. Were we talking about the series? It was cool.
So, Mallory, I had a question for you about language specifically. Like, I,
Yeah.
not speaking Japanese, I have learned Chinese in the past and speak English, obviously. Um, I was kind of low key impressed by Michael Reeves and Ludwig's Japanese, particularly
Mm.
Ludwig's, because I could think it, like you were talking about, it's just more confidence. But
Yes.
I thought they did a good job language wise. I've spent the last like 2 years listening to The Yard and listening to Ludwig be like, still practicing Japanese. I'm gonna do this motorcycle trip at some point, and so I'm like a weird proud parent where I'm like, he did it. You know, he was able to say I'm taking a motorcycle from south to north like 100 times.
Yeah. I mean, like that's the thing. It's like they weren't. I feel like on the level of like the grammar
Mallory,
structure is tough.
yeah,
Well, yeah, they're not as good as me.
who
No,
teaches
like I,
English
the
for a
grammar.
living.
Yeah, the grammar structure is hard because it is like inverse from like English,
Hmm.
and it's a hard transition to make. So I think that it's like I don't think you guys have zero knowledge, but like it did feel a lot more like we're like really memorized like phrases. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was absolutely possible. Like their pronunciation was not like it's like you're gonna have an accent. I probably have an accent. Like it's I don't I cringe listening to recordings of myself speaking Japanese TBH. Um, but like I think that they did the thing like I think certain people when they're speaking a foreign language like are afraid to like take the leap almost and
Right.
like try and pronounce it how it's supposed to sound, you know? And they were not they didn't seem to have that like fear of like putting themselves out there. They're going for it. So like I feel like they did pretty good.
Well, let me ask you
Um
specifically.
yeah.
Does the trick of just saying the word in English with a Japanese accent does that work as often as it seemed to for them? Of like an example I can think of is they were trying to ask about the temperature, and they were just like, "Oh, uh, Fahrenheit or Celsius." So, like, just Just confidently being like,
It
let me just say the
absolutely
word in English and
works.
see if it does work.
100% it works. And I do it a lot.
Why does
Or
that
not,
work?
because loan words, like, I think we underestimate, like, how many words, like, aren't even really, like, English words. They're just, like, every country is like, yeah, that's what this is called. Because they just kept borrowing it. Like, I think words beyond a certain point, like we just had like high speed communications like globally that we're just like, well, yep, everyone calls it this, you know? And Japan very much has just like a lot of loan words. And there's that. The other thing is that like most Japanese people have like studied English to an extent, um, and like know these words, even if they, similar to Ludwig and Michael, like can struggle with like the grammar and like how to like them, as well as like pronunciation and like being like speaking fluently with it. Like they still studied the vocab, and that like tends to stick with people, you know. Um, and also a lot of people will use English words to like zhuzh up, like if they want to like make their business not like, if they want to make something sound cool, like they'll just put an English word on there, you know. So then those words become like more and more widespread and widely known as like alternative words to call the thing. So yeah, you can truly get away with, and that like that was like me, like I try to avoid it if I can, but then like a lot of times like the word just is what, like ice
Mm-hmm.
cream is ice cream, right? Like you know, like there's not
Right.
another word for ice cream
It seems like it's
that's
a mix
commonly
of like
used. So
both
it's
like
like,
hyper like country specific terminology, like I don't know, like a
right.
croque monsieur will still be a croque monsieur in Japanese, even though it's a French
Yes, yes,
sandwich,
yes, yes.
but also like
Yeah.
modern terminology, like ice
Mm,
cream is probably like a more last 100 150 years like term.
mm. Yeah. It's also like
Cheeseburger,
I feel like they're,
like things that
yeah,
just are like
cheeseburger.
right.
Yeah. Like I feel like there are stuff where also I feel like the place where people will get tripped up if they're like really seriously going for Japanese is like there are certain like loan words that mean different things to what they mean in English in like kind of
Hmm.
confusing ways. Like revenge is one that just means to kind of like try something again without the like, it's not like pointed at a person, you know?
I like that. I'm gonna get
Um,
revenge on like my skiing lessons. Like I'm gonna try it again or something.
the first time I heard it was a friend and I, we like went on like this beach trip, and it was like it rained or something, and he's like, "Oh, I want to have like revenge on the beach," basically. And I was like, "At who?" It was like the weather, the beach, and he's like, "Oh no, like I want to try going to the beach again one time." Um,
You
yeah,
need to have
so
revenge on the
that
sun
that's a cool one.
on your own beach trip.
Yeah, I need to have revenge on fucking this now where I am. This fucking podcast. Um, there's that, and then there's like style means basically the opposite of like how the nuance, like you would use style to refer to not someone's body but like their fashion,
Hmm.
but like style in Japanese like refers to like his body, like body shape and stuff. So it's like literally the inverse of what you're anticipating it to mean, I feel like.
Right.
So that stuff can trip people up, but like blueberry, like you're not gonna get lost. Like you're fine.
Right.
Like
People will figure
yeah,
it out from the context clues.
totally.
Um,
Um, yeah,
so
that there's a lot of fun. Yeah,
I
but
did
yeah,
a
go
lot
ahead.
of self reflecting on my own trip to Tokyo forever ago at this point, like 6 years ago. Um, I had some virtual camaraderie with Michael Reeves and Ludwig in the sense that Naoto is horrible. I can't stand it. The fermented soybean, terrible. Um,
Oh, natto, yeah.
yes, really glad that they hated it. I was like, good. Um, I was thinking, right, I did all the touristy stuff. I went to the Pokemon Center. I went to the Sky Tree. I went to just Tokyo for the most part, Tokyo and Fuji. What you've now like lived in the country for so long, and we just watched a whole series where people went through like the entirety of the country or a large portion of it. What are things that people don't think about in Japan that like would be like a good thing to try and do, like beyond the normal stuff of like go freak out about
Mm,
7-Eleven or what have you?
yeah. That's an interesting question. I mean, I would say I was actually having a conversation with friends earlier today about like a lot of areas that were like so Akihabara and Harajuku are like the big ones I can think of in Tokyo
Right, the very
where they got
trendy, very
so
Western, or
popular.
Western tourists are really excited about those areas.
Yeah, but it's like with both of them, they were very like cultural pockets type of stuff, you know? And it's like Harajuku especially is the one that like even when I first went, like it definitely probably was already considered dead by like the people who used to know like real Harajuku or whatever. But like
Right.
when I went like in university, I was like, this is beautiful. Like now you go, it's just like the Nike store, the Adidas store,
It's like the Times
like
Square
you
of
know,
Tokyo, basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like I went to this like not even the Times Square. That's the thing is like nobody goes there because it's like there's the actual like Shibuya and like Shinjuku and stuff that have their stores already
Mm-hmm.
that feel maybe more fitting. And then like you go to Harajuku, it's like you're supposed to go for like having like weird over decorated like fashion or whatever and like
Right.
this really unique like culture and like you're getting the exact same thing. And
Because people
like I
just
went
kept
there was
going
a
there for so long that it just all started to cater to tourists, basically.
yeah, plus I'm in that case I'm a little less hesitant to blame the tour, more hesitant to blame Nike for being like, oh, this is a place where a lot of people go. Like, let's
Right.
put a store there because like I don't think anyone wanted Nike to put a store in. I don't think the tourists were like, this place like the Americans were not like this place is great, but where's Nike, you know? But like I know that's like that how stories get stereotyped of like why is there no McDonald's in the city, you know?
Well,
But
yeah,
like
the best
I
example I can think
I
of
kind of
is
blame the
like
corpos for
the
that one.
Corpos, yes. Um,
Yeah,
like I've been to like Hayden Ashbury in San Francisco, which is like the gay center of San Fran, and
right.
it was a lot of people selling T-shirts. You know, it wasn't exactly maybe like the cultural cornerstone that it was in the '80s or the '90s or what have you.
Yeah, yeah. It's not like a unique thing necessarily to Japan, but yeah, cool places to go in Japan. Like I feel like well, first of all, I'm gonna simp for like Ishikawa and Noto, like because I lived there for so long, love it to death, but like very beautiful devastated by earthquakes. Check out our Skip and Loafer podcast if you want to hear me talk at length about that stuff.
Hmm.
But still, absolutely a really, really beautiful place to go check out if you're able to make it up there. It could be like a little harder to access, like you're gonna need to ride a bus or like realistically rent a car, but like absolutely worth
But
it.
getting deeper into the Japanese countryside, essentially.
Yeah, like so that's gonna be my broad advice. Like I don't think you need to specifically go to Noto, and as much as I love Noto, like there are a lot of places that fit that description. Like this is one of them that I'm
Right.
just learning about,
When
right?
when I came to visit you in college when you were studying internationally, and I spent time in Tokyo and then
Yeah.
a small lake town like outside of Fuji. And when
Yes,
we were
yes,
in the small
yes.
lake town, I couldn't get by with anything Google Translate, no
Yeah.
Japanese. Like I was just lost completely. But because I had you as a guide, it was like really fun to see a different side of Japan doing that, even though it was still obviously like in close proximity to a pretty famous landmark.
Yeah, but like even so it's like the more like corner pocket you get, like that's just my broad travel advice. I feel like is like stepping off the beaten trail. There's some loud
Mm-hmm.
frogs. Could
Oh,
you
I
hear
hear
that?
them. Audio texture. Yes.
They're coming for me. Yeah, like getting off the beaten trail when you can, like and in a tour when you go to the place that not everyone's been, like you will just find something more interesting. It depends on what
Mm-hmm.
you travel for. Some people want to have a much more controlled experience, but I think for me, like the adventure and discovery is like such a big part. Like we went to this is so funny, but we went to that like weird little
The
like
sake bar.
no, it's like it was like a like kids like playland or something. I just remember having rose
Oh yeah,
flavored
it was all
ice
European
cream.
themed. It was super bizarre.
Yeah, and it was like I feel like it was for like children and women, and I was like, Sarah, do you want to? And this was before I'd come out, and I was kind of like, "Hey Sam, do you want to like go here?" And Sam was like, "Okay," and just kind of like he didn't complain at all.
Well,
It wasn't until like afterwards he was kind of like, I was like, "That was so fun, wasn't it?" And I realized he's like not into it. I was like, "Oh."
it was okay. It was like going to, I don't even know what the equivalent is. It's like going to Japan and then being like, let's go to the America Museum. It was very weird. Or
Yeah,
the Europe Museum, because it was like Victorian England kind of themed.
it is vibes of like when my granddad, who is from, who was from the UK, like flew to like America to go to Disney with us, and we went to Epcot, and he just like found the UK section, found the pub, sat down, and drank the entire time. while we,
Exactly. That's
yeah, no, that's it's very much giving that, but it was cute. I don't know, it's fun little stuff.
well, there was something
Yeah,
interesting about that. Like, let me see how a different country is portraying a culture I'm much more familiar with, basically.
yeah, definitely. At the same time, something I want to talk. Okay, and here's the thing: I don't want to go too aggro on people who like Japan and want to come to Japan and live in Japan. But I
Okay.
will say, people gotta stop talking about my immersion. I know it's like a meme, and there are a lot of people who are self-aware about it. But there are also people who are not aware about it, and they will be like, "I want my
Okay.
immersion. I don't want other white people here." Lose that. Like, go off the beaten path. But just because you see another like white person there, it's like, regardless of who found it, like, it's you didn't discover this place because people live here. So get that out of your
Right.
head. Like, it's not about you.
I think people travel to
Yeah,
Japan with a lot of weird preconceived notions.
yeah. Like, there's a very like fun kind of colonizer mentality. I feel like going on with that word. The word immersion in relation to Japan, like, has really bothers me. Like, uh,
Let's treat this country like a video game, basically.
yeah. That's a bit of your side, but I don't know. I feel like they avoided a lot of the video game stuff. Um, the only,
Ludwig and Michael Reeves.
yeah, the only cringy thing I thought that happened. This was the only moment I found cringy, and it was so minor, and it wasn't a big deal, and they brushed over it, so it wasn't big. But it was like this really specific thing where there's a part where they're in this like one cafe, and it's, I think there were like people like asking
They're in a motorcycle cafe.
about their, not the motorcycle cafe, but another cafe, and they like
Hmm.
were struggling to order a bit and like talk to the like waitress, but then like afterwards, like they're talking to this like other table of people who were like asking how old they were, because apparently they thought that uh like
Michael Reeves was being kidnapped by Ludwig.
yeah, he was like a child hanging out with like an adult skinhead. um but like, yeah, that cafe, like they're talking to her, and there's this part where he's like she asks like if they're okay with spicy food, and he's like, he made some joke about like white people, basically like, oh, it's okay, I can handle spice. And the reason why I find it cringy is it's like the like white people can't eat spicy food is not something that Japanese people know
It's
about.
not a
That's not
well-known
their
like trope, right,
stereotype.
in Japan.
Yeah. And it's like the real trip is like Japanese people can't handle spicy food. Obviously, there are a lot of exceptions. There are a lot of really spicy restaurants that cater to people who like spicy food here, but like um, a lot of Japanese people like have a much lower tolerance or desire to eat spicy food. Like, I guess as a
Mm,
broad cultural norm. Um, so like they'll ask like, is it okay to have spice? And like, be careful. And usually it's not even spicy, in a way that I feel like they
right.
wouldn't even ask in America. They're just like, yeah, deal with it. But yeah, like I feel like it's not that like you kind of expect someone to have like all this cultural knowledge, but like I feel like I get in situations sometimes where I'm with like another foreigner and we're in Japan, and they start bringing up like really specific stuff and like making jokes and laughing about it, and the Japanese person's just staring at them like so confused. I'm like, you're, it's in a way where you like expect them to know what you're talking about, and like
Right.
I feel like it's like the cognizance to be like, okay, all my like cultural kind of memes and stereotypes and stuff are not necessarily gonna like get by, you know. um
Well, like the white people can't handle spice thing is like
yeah,
so ingrained in comedy at this point. Like it's like a
right. It's very
It's just
normal
like
for us.
it's a go-to joke, yeah, in
Yeah.
America or for Americans or what have you.
And yeah, but it's like that's the thing. I don't want to like be like that's because I think the way he did it was like a very minor comment, and he didn't draw too much attention to it, and she was kind of confused and just like moved on. And I think if he like
Hmm.
clocked that she was confused, I think he has the social wherewithal to like not drag it out.
Right, or to
Basically,
smooth it over as best they can
yeah.
without the like getting over the language barrier aside.
Absolutely. But it was like it more made me flash back to situations I've been in where people did drag it out and dragged me over the fucking nails because I had to listen to them try to explain like
Dig the hole
yeah.
deeper kind of deal.
Yeah, dig the hole deeper. That's the best way to put it.
I gotcha.
But yeah, yeah. Other than, that's the only thing I was like But yeah, we should talk about the law though. I think here's the thing because people are complaining they camped by an abandoned house on a
Uh-huh.
coastline. And here's the thing. Yes, it's illegal. Yes, you probably shouldn't do it. Yes, I'm not advocating that you do it. But also, like, come on. You know what I mean?
Man, come on.
Like, that's the thing people are missing. Like, I feel like people are, like, so afraid to make a mistake in Japan that they're just like, oh, we must obey every law to, like, the fucking letter. And it's like,
Well, it's like
sometimes
someone
the,
sleeping in their car in America. It's like
yeah,
it's frowned upon, but it's not that big of a
this is
deal.
actually illegal and you're doing America wrong. It's like, you know, like, I don't know.
Right.
I think that certain stuff, like them chilling with the barbecue in a fucking parking lot of a pachinko parlor, it's like those spacers are not being used for anything else, and like
Right. It's
sometimes
like
laws are
they're
bad.
not disrupting the sanctity of the parking lot of the pachinko parlor.
Exactly. I think certain laws, like you don't gotta worry about them. Like you don't gotta worry about fucking like the private property and shit. Like get over it. I don't
Hmm.
know. It's like the people who want to avoid cringe stuff, like overcorrecting type of thing. I feel like that's common,
Hmm.
and it's like just like take it
Maybe
easy, man.
overcorrecting to avoid cringe is maybe more cringe than cringe.
Yeah, exactly. It's like live a little, you know what I mean? Or like
Words to
be
live by. You write that on a pillow, you know?
be a fucking foreigner in Japan. Like you're a foreigner in Japan. It's okay to have an accent.
You're
It's
gonna
okay to
stand
not
out
speak.
regardless,
Yeah,
right? So you might as well just like
exactly. Like take it from a fucking like 5'11" fucking trans woman with an Adam's apple. Like I'm gonna stand out here. My big white fucking
mm.
nose everywhere. And that's what it is. And it's cool and it's fine and everyone loves me for it. Um
Well, speaking of being the main character, Mallory, you are
yes.
in the void of darkness right now, but you have one other goal before this
One more
experiment. I'm
mission.
not gonna say failed experiment, but experiment concludes.
We got to get that stick that they threw. We're going to find it.
Okay, so explain to the audience what we're talking about.
Right at the beginning, when they leave Sata, there's the first place where the road diverges. Two roads diverge in the yellow wood. Sorry, they cannot travel both. And they throw a stick in the
Hmm.
air. And I'm going to try and find that stick right now. Live.
I believe they're making an homage to Yojimbo, is I think the idea. But yeah, you're gonna try and find this random piece of like trash essentially on the side of the road. And you're gonna take it
Yes.
as a claim your prize for our unintentional takedown of tip to tip.
our deconstruction of tip to tip. Um,
Exactly. This is tip to tip like rebuild or tip to tip like yeah 2.0.
Tip to tip rebuild is amazing. I love that.
Yeah, you cannot
You cannot
travel. I don't
fucking
know. I can I'm don't have a lot of sleep right now, so I don't know.
you cannot keep your fucking time agenda that you tried to set. So so optimistic.
You cannot arrive before sunrise
You
or
cannot
sunset.
you cannot defeat the sun.
Indeed.
Ugh.
So we're gonna take a short break here, but Mallory's gonna go try and find this stick.
Yes.
We're crossing Japan without a map.
We're going tip to tip.
All right, Mallory, I'm watching you on the stick hunt, and by watching you, I mean I'm looking at a complete pitch black Discord feed. If you were to
Here,
be murdered right now, I'd have no idea what like who do I even call?
whoever made this sign, as you can see, this footage is crazy. I'm using
You
a
are,
broken
this
old
is so
phone.
cursed. Like, this whole project is horrible.
Okay, so this is it. This is the gate, and they were on this road.
Okay.
And they got here. This was the intersection. You can see there's one way, there's the other.
Sure.
threw the
They threw a stick.
What I saw in the footage is they left it in the middle of the road. I feel like probably they would throw it off to the side of the road, this side.
I'm sure they did, yeah.
So I'm gonna start looking here. So we got a bent pole. Is this?
I got excited. I thought it immediately was a stick. Is that it?
This is a big sign. It's too long, I think, and it's
Okay.
like kind of thin. This thing that I'm looking at. This is like a sign, so I'm wondering if the stick came from an old sign, or this sign. God, yeah, I've closely studied this fucking stick.
Have you really?
Maybe not that closely.
It had a nail in it. The stick did, and it was
It
pointing
had a
on one
nail
side.
in it?
It does have a nail
Whoa.
in it.
That worries me because I feel like a nail, like would they clean up the nail? You
Well,
know,
no, I'm sure it's right after they threw it into the pile of lumber that they took it from, which was the sign
Hey,
that you were looking at.
hey Sam, you know what would make this
Uh-huh.
fucking easier if it was fucking daytime?
Yeah, probably so, yeah. So,
Okay.
Mal, I think you
Oh.
had the right idea when you were
Yes.
looking at the torn down sign, because I'm
Yes.
assuming they grabbed it straight from the pile of lumber, which is
Right.
like, there's...
Okay, so here's this stick, right? I don't think it's this. Oh, is that a nail? Oh, there's a nail. It's not
Is
this
it like
one.
in the
This
dead?
is
Is it like in the
huge.
middle of the wood?
No, it's like on the end of the wood.
Okay.
So it's not this stick. This is way too long. I think I would have remembered it being.
So the pile of lumber is like between two poles, right? There's a pole with a sign on it, and there's like a blue utility pole. Yeah, you're right there. This is exactly where it was.
I'm right here. I am here.
There's that little white sign as well. Like
This
that's,
one?
Yes, that like I'm looking at that in the video.
Okay. Pile of lumber.
So I'm sure they grabbed it from this
yeah.
lumber pile that's like right in front
Right.
of you.
Right.
This is so not worth it. You're gonna get
This is
tetanus.
stupid.
You're gonna get murdered.
I'm gonna get murdered by tetanus.
You're gonna get murdered by tetanus.
It's not on top of the pile. So it's like, do I lift up this entire? You see this big white thing?
No, I understand what you're saying.
I have to be under it. So I feel like stick
They might have thrown it
probability
over the
is-
the pile, like just like tossed it. And you're sure it's not the one you were holding earlier?
I don't think so, right? Because look at how long this is, right?
It's a pretty big stick in the video.
Oh, there's some bikers coming by right now.
Oh, that's
This is huge long. I don't think.
okay. Yeah,
And
that's probably
thin.
too big. What about the one right below it? Is that part of the sign?
That's part of the sign, is the thing. Yeah, I'm thinking the stick is maybe a bust. So, so I think this trip has
Well, it's fine because
yielded-
everything else went really smoothly.
Yeah, I think this trip has yielded. I think we're 0 for 0. We're 0 for 3 things that we maybe
Yeah,
could have gotten out of
you know.
this. Yeah. Well, it's cool. I mean, I'm proving him here. Let's see if I can get the sign in this shot.
The big gate.
Yeah. So I mean, this is where they chose the wrong direction to go if they wanted to go to Fukuoka.
Yep.
Should have gone that way.
The famous scene. Everyone's favorite part of Tip to Tip.
Everyone's favorite part of Tip to Tip, a classic that millions have seen all over the world.
Right.
Uh,
All right.
Well,
Well,
Sam-
attempts were made.
yes. I look insane. That
was a bust.
I'm gonna let you go
I'm
to
gonna
sleep,
go to
Sam.
sleep.
I think.
All right, whatever the pointy side goes closer to. That's right.
So Mallory, some time has passed.
Yes, we have transitioned into the future. Shortly before we release this episode of Nobody Leaves. I mean, what an episode, Sam! What a great little
What an episode.
experience. What a little adventure that we've taken our viewers on with us this week.
Hall of Famer, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I have more to tell you, like more to the story of like how that night kind of concluded and some grand revelations, but like broadly I did just kind of want to get your takes on like how do you feel about my response to this concept, my challenge idea, my concept for this podcast? What is your feeling having seen everything play out as it did?
I've known you for a long time, and I've always known you to not tell time very well. So the fact that you showed up after dark does not surprise me. I think you were a trooper in the sense that it did not look like a very fun environment to be live reporting on a now month-old YouTube vlog series.
Yeah, I would describe my relationship to like the ETA that's displayed on like the Google Maps app as like ambitious, you know, one of condescension. Yeah, I'm sure people go this slow, but I'm built different. And I think that has bit me in the ass yet again. Will I learn? Well,
ambition, overconfidence, pride. A lot of big ideas in this this very special episode of Nobody Leaves.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, much reflecting in the spirit of these YouTubers who decided to motorcycle their way from you know, end to end of a country and ended up in just some grim, unfortunate little inconvenient situations. You know, I felt akin to them. I could feel that feeling of the Great Falls. So speaking of Great Falls, I will let you know about a crisis that I had, which is that night on the way back, I stopped at the first convenience store that I could find that was open to grab some food and use the restroom. And I sat in the parking lot and I thought, like, maybe I'll search up this convenience store where this like woman was working at. Like, maybe I can get some, like, you know, any sort of interaction, any value out of this, you know, little side quest that I've been on. And I pull up the video and I'm scrolling through, and I did something that I didn't do while we were over at the stick area, which is look at the video of the stick again and look at the footage and look at what it looked like. And Sam,
I was telling you to do it in the moment, and I don't understand why, because I'm sure you had the stick and you just ignored it.
And I had like your phone. I had two phones. This is how I chose to record this. You might notice the footage is really shaky. I recorded it on an old iPhone that I no longer use. The reason for which is because the camera is just actually broken. So you just see it go like the whole time. So that was crazy and dumb. I was supposed to only use the front-facing camera, and I forgot in the stress of the moment. Hunger, exhaustion, all of these like contributing to the situation. And then I was like, I need to Skype Sam and like bring him along with me, because I think by that point I felt just very alone in the wilderness and very tired and just very like, it's all over, this is bad. And I chose emotional support over taking deep breath and thinking practically. And that was a mistake, because that was what I was using my other phone for. So I didn't have a free phone or a free hand to look at an image of the stick. So if you notice from the footage that I sent you, there's a lot of focus on like the one stick that I'm holding on the top of the pile. And there's just like a lot of back and forth between
Mallory,
us.
are you sure that's not the stick?
There's just a lot of back and forth between, and it's like, these are the crazy interactions we had. Is you say there's a nail in the middle of the stick, and I say no, this has a nail on the end of the stick. It's like exactly in between those 2 points. Like, it's like neither of us were wrong, but it's like I'm like, well, that's not the middle, that's the end of the stick. And it's just kind of a glass is half full, half empty. So the
that
stick,
was the stick, wasn't it?
It was the stick. It was absolutely the stick. So then I'm sitting in the parking lot, and I'm like, fuck, because I've just driven an hour I'm like barely gonna make it home at like 1 a.m., which is like maybe around when I normally go to sleep. I work the next day. I'm just like, okay, I really should go home, but the stick, right? So I'm like, should I go back? So I called our friend Lime Lemonade on Instagram, uh, and I asked for advice, and he told me, Mallory, don't go get the fucking stick because that's stupid and a
So of
waste of
course you
time.
ignored that advice.
No, I didn't get the stick
Okay.
because I realized that like it was so wet and there were bugs crawling out of it, and it was so much bigger than I thought it was. And I was like, I'm gonna bring it home, and I don't know where I'm gonna put it. You know, like I thought it would maybe be like the length of like my arm. You know, it's like the length of this
Mm-hmm.
shelf. It's like it would take up so much space. The nail had tetanus on it. I don't know how you get tetanus off of a nail. I don't know that there's a de-tetanus method. I don't know what tetanus is. So I was like, this is stupid. I'm not going to get a roach-filled tetanus nail-filled plank of stick of wood from here. So I went home. So I think the moral of the story is like, you know, not every stunt's
I think
worth
the
it.
moral
Don't do
I think
bits.
the moral of the story is use the screenshot function on your iPhone that's been around for a decade, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Like the moral of the story is like pre-plan. Think about what you're going to do before you do it. Don't
Mm-hmm.
don't just like kind of overconfidently think, well, everything's going to work out and I'll figure it out on the way. I'm not going to like, you know, I'm not going to like organize things in a more like logical way that will make them go more smoothly. I'm just going to charge through everything and be different and be built different. Don't do that, kids.
I would say you are
Um,
built different, Mallory.
yeah, I suppose I am. Well, I guess I'm going to repeat this behavior. So, I think it's time. I think it's time that I ranked tip to tip.
Yes, any thoughts about the thing we're supposed to be reviewing, or is this entirely just our one-off? This is our very special episode.
I mean, I do like I've edited and rewatched the footage. I do think that I give like the majority of my opinions. Like I think it's a fun, lighthearted series to watch. It's a lot less and I mean I would say not disrespectful like thing towards Japanese people. I feel a lot less like they're using Japan like a playground as a basis for their vlog. I hope that they try like other countries in the future. I think that would be like my thing because I think that like I don't know it gave me like nostalgic vibes to like travel shows I used to watch like growing up and you know the idea of like that happening like through the format of like YouTubers and live streamers is like a lot of fun and like a cool thing that I think they could do. So I mean, it's a cool series, and I'm glad I watched it. I probably wouldn't have if I was not told to in this podcast because I would have just kind of written it off as like more Japan fetishization stuff. But I
So
mean,
it gets the approval of the Japanese native or Japan. I
of
don't know what
a
you call
official
you.
of an official
Japanese resident.
an official Japan fetishizer colonist who's come in here and just, you know, like
Stolen
I'm like,
Japanese jobs.
yeah, like I'm throwing all around all this words as if I'm not like just like a fucking white 20 something living in Japan, like loving anime, living my best life. So, you know,
I
it's
understand. Well, if
yeah.
anything, this is like revealed to the audience that no, this isn't a joke. You do live in Japan.
Yeah, I guess I've proved that I lived in Japan, or have I? Did I just go over to a dark fence and plaster over the road sign with like Japanese words on the?
Did you take a flight to Japan just to show up after dark?
Yeah, am I like that one weird? You know the dude who like filmed that video in a river because his girlfriend broke up with him, and he's singing ABBA in a river. Oh man,
Vaguely, yeah.
yeah, that video I have thoughts on because I feel like that gets a little bit more where it's just like filming a bunch of strangers who look really confused about why he's singing ABBA in a river, and it's like it's funny, but it also feels a little bit more in the like playground type of vibes, you know. Like this was doing a little bit better than that. Like they were trying to communicate with people and just kind of figure things out.
The one I always think of as a modern example, like we talked a lot about Jake and Logan Paul. I cannot remember which is which.
Yeah.
Green hat idiot. But more recently is the streamer who was hopping on trains illegally and got arrested for doing so, and was doing all of that live. I don't know the streamer's name.
Yeah.
It was a big deal for a second, and they were an idiot, and I think they got arrested. But yeah, people continue to need to learn the lesson of, like, when you're in a new place or any public place, really, the people around you take priority over making a good stream, but also watching we'll call it our efforts, because I was involved in the planning of this. A lot of things can go wrong, and technology is difficult, and things like lighting are difficult. So I would say that's given me a little bit more of an appreciation for how difficult this stuff is. You'll notice that on my YouTube channel, there's not a lot of live action bits. They're very difficult, and whenever I try to do them, they're not great. So I sympathize with your adventure in the night.
Absolutely. Shout out my like bright white glowing face for the first portion of the recording. That's just like
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm just shining.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Like, you know, goddess form is evolving. Yeah, it's time to tier this. It's time to put it in the tier. It's time to lay down the scales of justice. And everyone will notice now that the graphics have all been redone in our podcasts this week and moving forward. So now you can see us while we're talking about the tiers at the same time. Wow, look at all the things I've ranked before. I have a lot of interesting episodes for you all to check out. Anyway, tip to tip. I would classify this, and I've had like an extra bit of time to think about it. I think it would go in cute, just because cute is like my mid tier. Just because I feel like ranking it as like deluxe is a pretty high standard. Like there's nothing like that wrong with it, but it's also not like, you know.
You're saying it's not as good as Dawn to Dawn, the anime?
I'm saying it's not quite as well animated as Dawn to Dawn, the anime. It's not maybe like where I would want it compared to like Severance, the 2-season drama. I think that it's just, you know, casual, fun, lighthearted watching. Not perfect, but, you know, about as good as they come, especially when it comes to...
But the animation was so good, like it was almost photorealistic. What do you mean?
Almost, yeah. And I'm a little less about like coming and Dick's humor all the time. So maybe... not to yuck anyone's yum.
It has the energy of like, I'm sleep deprived and this is all I can come up with is repeating the same Pokemon phrase,
which I like. That is funny to me, and it is funny, like they're delivering the jokes in funny ways, but my sleep deprived brain does not necessarily go in that angle. It just kind of goes to like quoting Total Drama Island and being mean. But yeah.
When are you gonna pull that trigger? When are you gonna make me watch Total Drama Island?
Can I be honest? It's long. It's like really long, and
you didn't do it a season at a time, right? Aren't they like 24 episodes?
Yeah, like each season is long, and it's just kind of crazy. And what are we gonna watch? One half of a season of Total Drama Island? Like, it's a real tough one. Like we've talked about doing year-long pitches in the future.
Is what I'm learning.
Yeah, a lot. That's one of the first things I wrote down. But it's like we've talked about doing year-long pictures. It's like I feel like that's maybe like we, you know, given a year to consume 3 seasons of Total Drama Island is probably a lot easier.
You would burn a year, like your first year-long pitch on Total Drama Island.
It's tough. One of my most famous quotes is like, "You don't understand me unless you've seen enough episodes of Total Drama Island." It's like you
make me read Moby Dick or something. Like, what are you doing here?
Call me Owen. Call me Chris McLean.
You know, I've seen it. As a kid. Like, I've seen the first season all the way through,
but
and I think
have you seen it as an adult? Is the thing, because
No.
it's crazy. And have you seen World Tour? Because that one has songs in it, and that's the one I'm crazy about.
Is that the second season?
World Tour is the third one. They did Action as the
Ooh.
second season.
I've seen Action, I believe.
Yeah, World Tour is like a musical, and they added 2 new characters, and then after that, they just started going crazy with it. Like, they were like making up new characters and stuff like that.
That's the most northern point in all of Japan. Soya Misaki.
Anyway, this is not about Total Drama Island because I got a pitch for you, Sam. So speaking of stunts, you know, I was kind of being a little bit down on my stunts, and then you encouraged me even like 2%. So it's time to.
That was not my intention.
well, you just stop being such a good friend, because here we go again. So I have been thinking about pitching this for a while. It's like early on when we're coming up with like the idea for this podcast. Like, I think it was a lot of fun. Like, I like to play with form, you know, like we have a structure, and it's like, okay, what is like the weirdest kind of things that I can pitch that like fit this, where it's like a media that we can consume, but will like something that we can talk for like about an hour. And I came up with like a short list, and this was like one of the earliest things that I was so excited to pitch. And I think honestly, I kind of almost like pulled this like, you know, ending to the recording of this episode as like a like chance, like an excuse almost to like pull the trigger on this, because I've just been like wanting to try it out. And I have other things
because
that
you've
are kind of
suffered
short like this.
tetanus and bug bites and whatnot.
Yeah.
Now it's time to punish Sam. Is that what I'm getting at?
Like, that's the thing. If I frame it in punishment terms, I would be punishing you for decisions that I made. So that's not how I'm going to frame it. I've decided to frame it differently.
What else is new?
I've decided to change how it's framed. So
as an
this
experiment.
This is I would say experimental for the format of our podcast, but like, you always got to be growing. You always got to be pushing the envelope, and I wanna you know, test what we can do with this bad boy. This is episode 18, you know, we're getting in the meat and the mix of things. So this week, I'm not pitching you a movie. I'm not pitching you an anime. I'm not pitching you a music album. I'm pitching you a riddle. So this is one of the most time-consuming things that I've ever read, is this riddle. Okay? Imagine you're me. You're on the web. You're cruising, you're looking for riddles, because you just want to have riddles, because you love riddles, because you just kind of want to read a riddle and be like, feel smart, or like or not even feel smart. I don't feel like I'm chasing.
Mallory,
like,
how am I going to make a thumbnail for this? You're pitching me a riddle?
Easily, because you're not even like at the riddle yet, but it's like, you know, I feel like the joy of riddles is like, you know, going, oh, right? So I find this riddle, I read it, I read the solution, and I'm like, what the fuck? And I think about it so frequently, and it's really hard to find someone that I can just talk to about this riddle and like all my harebrained theories about it. And now I have a platform in which I'm able to make someone talk to me about it for at least an hour, at least like 45 minutes.
Look dumb.
No, because I'm giving you the riddle and the solution, and then we're going to talk about it, because I don't really agree with the solution, and a lot of people
You're not going to make me try and solve it live?
No. You're going to, like, it's up to you if you want to read the solution off air or not, or if you want to find out the solution on air. Like, that's your choice. But, like, we're going to talk about the solution and talk about, do we agree with this and that kind of stuff, you know? I think that's, like, what's the real solution to this riddle? Like, I think we're going to come up with it together in the space. That's my pitch. The name of the riddle is 5 Pirates 100 Gold Coins Riddle, which is the craziest thing. So I feel like I should read the riddle because it's not that long, and then that will be like a little tantalizing thing. So like our viewers, because we're gonna be recording this like 10 minutes from now, but our viewers are gonna like have a week to kind of, you know, dwell on this and think about it themselves. So I'll read the riddle, and that can kind of close us out.
This is going to be the shortest episode of Nobody Leaves ever.
This is going to be the longest episode. Okay, so the the first. Okay, I'm not gonna comment because if I start commenting, then I'm using up all the content for a great episode next week. Here we go. 5 pirates of different ages have a treasure of 100 gold coins. On their ship, they decide to split the coins using this scheme. The oldest pirate proposes how to share the coins, and all pirates, including the oldest, vote for or against it. If 50% or more of the pirates vote for it, then the coins will be shared that way. Otherwise, the pirate proposing the scheme will be thrown overboard, and the process is repeated with the pirates that remain. As pirates tend to be a bloodthirsty bunch, if a pirate would get the same number of coins if he voted for or against the proposal, he will vote against, so that the pirate who proposed the plan will be thrown overboard. Assuming that all 5 pirates are intelligent, rational, greedy, and do not wish to die, and are rather good at math for pirates, what will happen? Sorry, it's just... Oh, man. All right. Well, have a good day, Sam.
Have a good evening, Mallory.